Hello, everyone, and welcome back to an impromptu episode of Bears on Tap. Of course, because the Bears only break news on Tuesday morning as we record on Monday night, we had to get back to this right away before we finished the episode, before we published it, and this will just be an addition onto Monday night's episode that will be added at the end, which I believe would, if you're just entering the podcast now, it's probably about 45 minutes in. But instead of Quentin, I have Joey with me today. Doesn't matter who I have with me today. It's a very miserable day. Joey, how are you, my guy?
I'd be much better if the Bears would just extend Roquan Smith and stop dicking around, get this shit done. We'll get into it here a little bit more, but I'm not happy, man. Like, I know it's not all on the Bears entirely. We'll kind of talk about why it's not entirely on them, but yeah, man, it just sucks. We're getting closer and closer to the season, and you want all of your ducks in a row. You want all your players on the field, and right now our best one is on the field.
Yeah, and like for me, it was the first thing my eyes laid, on when I woke up this morning. That was the first thing I saw, like when I looked on my phone, was Roquan Smith has requested a trade. And obviously, in 2022, when an athlete puts out a statement on Google Notes, it's a wrap. That's about as signed deal as you can get. And Roquan represents himself. He doesn't have an agent. So, do we know what the number that he's asking for? No. Do we know what Roquan? What we saw in the report was that Roquan wants a long-term deal, similar to what Darius Leonard got. I don't understand why it's an issue. Roquan's a top 5 linebacker in the NFL. He's played at that level his entire career. He hasn't really, stepped sideways or done anything wrong in our eyes. I know he's not fucking Ray Lewis, but I still think that Roquan Smith deserves to be a Chicago Bear forever if Roquan Smith wants to be a Chicago Bear forever. And I think it's important, too, that he talked about the importance of the position. We talk about it all the time on this show, what it means to play linebacker for the Chicago Bears. I mean, you look down and they're, Butkus, Singletary, Urlacher, Briggs, the list goes on. You got our random guys like Hunter Hillenmeyer and shit that will go down as Bears legends. Like, Roquan Smith is an all-time player. Why not keep him here for his entire career? It makes zero sense to me, and it shows a horrible message from the new regime where it's just like I said the tweet earlier where Chicago is the home of owners that will have underpaid young talent, allow them to live out the length of that contract, and then not renew them despite them meeting all the criteria of what they were supposed to do when they signed the contract. It fucking blows my mind. We see it with the Cubs way too often. We see it with the Bears now. There is zero reason on God's green earth that you lose Roquan Smith in the same offseason you lose Khalil Mack. No. It's inexcusable. There will be like literal riots outside Soldier Field if that's what ends up happening.
Yeah, and then even Akeem Hicks, right? Like, those are 3 of the guys that we knew that one was coming, but like 3 of the guys that we've been accustomed to watching over the last, I don't know how many years now exactly, but like, and then ever since his rookie year with Roquan, it's like, man, this dude has been, I mean, you basically said it, like, he's been a model player. Like, as whatever you ask of him to do, he's basically done, at least to the highest that he can do from what it looks like. I mean, I've never had an issue with what he does on the field, ever. Like, I've never watched a Bears game and been like, maybe a couple times where it's like, okay, he could have done better on this particular play, but it's like, you got to get real nitpicky about it, right? Like, he's not one of those guys that causes any problems on the defense, and he's your team leader on the defensive side of the ball now, especially with the guys that have left, and he's the guy that you're going to count on going into at least the immediate future. And that's why I just don't really understand, like, it probably would be smart of him to just go out there and get another agent right now. Like, I know he's his own agent, but like, he probably should just go out there, especially like, there was a little bit of tactics being played by him, right? Him going into this and doing that, like you said, the Google Notes thing, putting it out there for the fans, and then showing up to the Fan Fest today, and then Ryan Poles is on the opposite side of the sideline. Like, there was a little bit of games being played there, I think. But one thing's clear. I do think that even though he put that out there, he definitely wants to be a Chicago Bear. Like, I don't think he would have showed up today if he didn't want to. And I do think that there's like a lot of that playing into this. As Alap says here in the comments, I've written weekly takeaways for the past 2 years. He's always a highlight in them. He was the lone shining star on a bad team, leading tackler most weeks. Yeah, absolutely. Like, he's always on the stat sheet. He's always, showing through compared to the other players on the team, and being a key reason why they get off the field on third down, because of his pass coverage and because of his quickness sideline to sideline. So I just don't see how he doesn't fit this scheme, like, no matter what spot he's going to be in. Like, I know people are like out there talking about they want to see how he fits into this scheme and all that. Roquan just looks like one of those guys. He's going to be good in whatever you put him in, he's going to be good at, because he's just that damn hardworking on the football field, that quick, and seems to be that smart and instinctive. So I don't really have any like real thoughts about him as a player, as like, should he or shouldn't he be here? He should absolutely be.
He's the guy for the job without a shred of doubt in my mind. It's just, it's unbelievable the level that this has even got to, right? Like, as you're scrolling through the situation, you see, Cordero Patterson changes his Abby on Twitter to a picture of Roquan. You see all the players start to get in on it. And it's just like, we can't do anything right as an organization. And there's, like you said, there's one player on this team that's been a staple for the last 4 or 5 years that we know we're going to get all pro level play out of, and that's Roquan Smith. And we've had him for very cheap for he's on his rookie deal, for fuck's sake. Like, if you guys know anything about NFL contracts, you know that first, and depending on how long that first contract is, that second contract, that's your shelf life. That is the most money you're going to make at any given point during your NFL career, is that first contract after your rookie, and then that second, if you can get it at like 31 years old, maybe 32, depending on your position. Like, I don't know. I think Roquan, he's 25 years old. He's a smart kid. He realizes, like, hey, I've been on a bad team for 5 years. Imagine if Roquan Smith was on a team where he had the pieces around him. You know what I'm saying? It would only be better. So he probably is also thinking that in the back of his head. But at the end of the day, like, the guy said he wants to be a Bear for life. So, yeah, he did request a trade, but he also did say, I would like to stay a Bear for life. I don't want it to have to come to this. And I think Roquan Smith's an easygoing guy. Like, you look at his social media posts and the way he is, and fucking he's hanging out with porn stars on yachts in the summer. Like, he looks like just your normal 25-year-old guy that happens to play in the NFL and be pretty fucking good at it. Like, I don't know what you expect from the kid at this point. He wants his worth paid in cash, or with a Bella Danger shooting the money gun out of the Brinks truck at the back at him. But I cannot wrap my head around how bad of a job Ryan Poles has done up to this point, with the exception of his draft. And yet again, Quentin reminded me of it last night, we have not seen them play a single down. So
yeah, we haven't. And that's why, like, all this like faith and excitement in, Ryan Poles to this point, like, I just don't understand. Scott Crawford here in the comments, if they don't extend Roquan, we riot. Absolutely. Like, we're going to be pissed. Like, as we are now, I think. Like, we kind of came onto this show just pissed off as it was. But, like, dude, I just don't get, like, you have a player like this, and we, like you said about Ryan Poles, or we haven't seen them play it down yet, take even a snap yet. Like, we don't know what he's put together here. Like, the signings that he's made, even like the offensive line late in the process here with Riley Reif and Michael Schofield, they came late. They didn't break the bank this year for the cap hits. Like, they didn't break the bank. They still have just over $18 million in cap space. So if you wanted to front load this contract, and I mean, I'm sure there's like, I'm hearing like mixed things about the reporting. Like, it sounds like maybe there's some issues. Like obviously they don't want the guarantees on the back end of the contract with Roquan Smith, because usually when guys obviously get older and stuff, and you're gonna have to want to save some space towards the end of that contract as well because you want to extend some guys. You're gonna have to make a decision on Justin Fields. You're gonna look to extend him and other key positions, but like. And people are making it this big thing about the position premium, right? Don't pay the position premium. It's not a premium position to pay a linebacker, whatever, so on and so forth. Like if you actually front loaded this contract, and that's where I think an agent could step in and like talk to Roquan and be like, hey, dude, they're going to give you the guaranteed money early on. No teams really want to get the cap space. They don't want the major guarantees later on in the contract. So why don't you just front load it now? Let's say they gave him, and I'm just throwing a number out here, and it's going to sound fucking crazy to a lot of people. But like, let's say they gave him $24 million this year, guaranteed. That's a crazy number. It's a ridiculous number, right? Because I think a lot of people are sitting in that like $20 million sweet spot range right now, like, or maybe a little bit under, like 19 mil, whatever. If they gave him 24 mil, they would still be about $3 million in cap space under the cap. So I'm just saying, just for this year alone. So if you did that this year, and I mean, you don't really want to go into a season like that because then you have, you're probably going to have to make other signings as well. I mean, right now the injuries are piling up at wide receiver. You got David Moore who got hurt today. But we'll see how serious that is. I don't know. It sounded like he was carted off. I don't know. But like, you might have to make another wide receiver addition. I just think like the fringe roster cuts, dude, like you can work your way around this cap space management issue to the point where you should be able to like front load this contract if he's asking for it early. Maybe that's just not what he wants. I don't really know. Like we don't know what the discussions are, but I do like that Poles addressed the media today. At least like that part to me was like, okay, cool. At least he came out and talked. Because in the past, like Ryan Pace wouldn't have said shit. He just would have like ducked down. And like that part of me, he says he wants to sign Roquan and extend him. That part I kind of look at as like, I got to commend him for that. But it's like, dude, just get the job done, And I understand this is his first year and, this is a tough issue to be presented with in your first year, especially from a fan favorite for the most part. But I just want him to play for the Bears. He's good enough. He deserves it.
Yeah, and it's not something that you want to have going into a season like this. I think you put the tweet out earlier that it was like in a season with no expectations going into it, they still found a way to disappoint me before we even played a snap. Like we have our first preseason game this weekend. I know Roquan's probably not going to be the focal point in that preseason game, but at a certain point, you want to get Roquan out there running with the one so they have that chemistry come week one. And from all reports that I've heard and from what I've seen, the defense has already looked good in his absence. Imagine how much better they look with him in there. You know what I'm saying? So with Roquan,
and I wonder if that's like part of their like tactic though too. Like, look how good it is without you. We don't really
see, but that's fucked up.
What I'm saying?
Bro. That's fucked up. That's
like
like putting makeup on a pig, bro. Like we're gonna sit here and say that we will still have a defense that's capable without Roquan Smith when we could just sign our player that has deserved an extension that the Brinks truck should be backed up for. Like, it shouldn't even be a conversation. I heard Ryan Poles only gave about 5 minutes in his press conference. Like, he kind of walked out today. So I'm sure he feels the pressure. I really don't care. I mean, you take a job like this, high-profile job like this as a GM, and you just have been fumbling through the first 6 months of the job. Like, the team is in no better position than we were when you signed up for the job to win a Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? So obviously that was never the goal for this year. We never had a roster that was going to be ready to compete for a Super Bowl right away. But you want to be able to see the silver linings, and you want to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And right now, receiver injuries piling up, Roquan not getting his money, Ryan Poles not really making any friends in the Chicago media and beyond, the fans are fucking irate. I've seen people too, like standing up for like Poles or the McCaskies or Ted Phillips. And it's just like, how many more times do we have to let these people let us down and not expect a different result before we're actually fucking insane? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's it's insanity by the definition, down to a T, where it's just like, come September, we know we're going to get ready for Bears football. We know it's probably not going to end how we want it to end, but we're still going to be here for 17 weeks of it come hell or high water. And it's just like, no matter what narrative gets us in the news cycle this year, until they put those pads on, it's not going to be good. Well, until they put those pads in game jersey on, I should say, it's not going to be good. Until they have an opportunity to silence the people, then the critics that have been doubting them, it's going to be shit like this where it's like Roquan's not getting paid. Who's Justin Fields going to throw to? All this BS that we keep getting spoon-fed during the soft time of the offseason, I say. But, the preseason is about to heat up. So I guess you could say we'll have actual game film and clips to talk shit about now.
Yeah, we're getting close. That's like the one good part about this time of year is like we all kind of are starting to feel the fever now a little bit. But it's like, at the same time, when you have this like cloud, this dark cloud kind of like looming over your team or your favorite team and just your organization, if you're in the Bears' shoes, like, I just don't understand, man. Like, he had, and Alap says here, Joey Poles also left after 5 minutes while the reporters were still asking questions. Don't give him too much credit. I mean, hey, I'm only giving him credit because I know it was an unscheduled press conference. So, like, that part of the situation is I'm giving him a little bit of credit because he didn't have to do that today. But, like, at the same time, no, he doesn't deserve the credit. Like, he doesn't deserve to be – I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt in this situation. I'm just saying, like, all we've seen from him so far, like you said, B-Down, basically the best thing he's done so far is minimize the cap hits. Like, he's freed up cap space. That's basically the only thing that he's done so far as I'm concerned. He's kind of addressed some issues, but he hasn't addressed all the issues. We still have wide receiver questions like crazy. As much as we try to put lipstick on a pig and we talk about these receiving weapons and, you know what I mean? Like, we talk about Cole Kmet could have a breakout year and, Darnell Mooney's excellent. Like, outside of that, everybody's getting hurt and you don't have anything else guaranteed outside of that, basically, for the weapon. So it's like, what has he done outside of, and then the late additions to the offensive line? Okay, solid moves, but now you got a disgruntled Tevin Jenkins who says he's not disgruntled or whatever the fuck. And you know what I mean? Like, there's different situations. And the Lap says right here, the Jenkins situation is a mess too. But just like I said, I mean, it is a mess. And that could be a lot on coaching too. If he's not buying into coaching and whatever, and there's disagreements there, it doesn't all have to be on Ryan Poles. I'm not saying that, but
it's on Ryan Poles we're putting on him.
We're just everything's on Ryan Poles.
Everything is on the table, and it's all Ryan Poles' fault. And I mean, until further notice, Ryan Poles is guilty. Like, I don't, they talk about innocent until proven guilty. He hasn't shown me a goddamn thing that proves that and now I sound like an old man yelling at the clouds, but I'm serious. I mean, dude, look at it like this. I'm 28, you're what, 30, right?
31, yep.
We have never had a period of sustained excellence in our entire life as Bears.
You get one good season, and that's it.
You get the one-off season where they go to the playoffs, they lose in heartbreaking fashion, and then it's 2, 3, maybe 4 years before we're back at it again. You know what I'm saying? By the time we get back to the playoffs, if you truly want to count the Nickelodeon game, it will probably be 3 or 4 full seasons. You know what I'm saying? So, and the team will have a completely different makeup by the time we get back. Tevin Jenkins, we can also touch on right now because that is also, I guess, still kind of sizzling where, yeah, Tevin Jenkins has nowhere near the career of Roquan Smith, but Tevin Jenkins also he hasn't really had the amount of time to show us what he can do at the NFL level. And I mean, I don't understand just make your fucking players happy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you look at just regular jobs. Like, we work regular jobs, right? if our boss was acting a fool like this, fucking with our money, we're looking for a new job. It's not that hard of a concept to understand. It shouldn't be, you know, it shouldn't be this hard just because you play in the NFL. Like, the Bears have got to stop acting like the fucking Dollar Tree and the Dollar General and a small mom and pop shop, and they have to act like an NFL franchise that has money to blow. Because if there's one thing that people in Chicago love, regardless of result, is Chicago Bears football, as we've pointed out so effortlessly for you. Like, we're meatballs. We're stupid. We're dumb people. We don't care. We love football, and we will tune in no matter what. Give us a product that we want to be excited about. We know this year is not our year to win the Super Bowl. It's not our year to go 13-4, whatever it may be. But we want to see happy players in the locker room. We want to see that foundation for the future getting built. And when when the first thing before you even rub the crust off your eyes in the morning is you see your best player wants to request a trade, it breaks your heart because, like, what are we doing here? If you can't reward the best player on your team for the way he plays, why would anybody else do their fucking job?
You know what I'm saying? We didn't even, you didn't even get to put your toaster strudel in the toaster. And, you're looking, you got Roquan Smith is requesting a trade. It sucks, dude. Like, you see that, and I will stand on this hill, I guess. I don't think he's gone until I see, like, from a viable, reliable source that there are actually rumors out there for him getting traded. Because it doesn't sound like
not Daniel Greenberg or Jacob Infante. Like, until Schefter or Rappaport tweets it, I don't believe it. So,
yeah, man. I mean, like, it's got to be like a real source that says like there's even rumors out there, because it doesn't sound like from today. I don't think Poles would have addressed the media today if he had any intention of actually trading him.
Yeah.
So that's like the one positive that we can look at this situation, where I feel like they will get something done. It's just a matter of like when, I think. But at the same time, you can only piss somebody off for so long. You know what I mean? You can only keep rubbing them the wrong way until they just say, hey, you know what? I'm actually out the door. I didn't just use this as a tactic. Like,
well, it's a contact sport too. I mean, you saw the way Richard Sherman, or no, it wasn't Richard Sherman, it was Earl Thomas. The way Earl Thomas left Seattle, where it's a contract year. Pete Carroll's playing him. He gets hurt. He's fucked. You know what I'm saying? So Roquan Smith is in a contract year. He stands to gain nothing unless he has that new deal locked up. You have nothing else to prove. There should be no, well, we need to see you do it again this year if you want the deal. It's already been done. Sports contracts, as we know, towards the end you're never going to actually recoup the value that you signed for. Like when you're in year 4 or 5 of that contract, very rarely do you ever get your money's worth that late in the contract. You're paying for what that guy has already done for you, which, as we've seen, i.e. Brian Urlacher, they don't give a fuck about doing. He also had a statement that we'll talk about as well. But it has to get done, and it needs to get done before Saturday. You need to have him ready to roll so that when the Bears play that one preseason game where it's the ones for a majority of the game, Roquan can get his firing practice in, get out there, get his first couple hits in, and he'll be ready to go for week 1. Because if we want to have any chance at beating the 49ers, especially if Trey Lance is playing quarterback, we need our sideline to sideline all-pro linebacker out there with us to do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question about it. This team doesn't even have a shot at 500 without Roquan Smith, in my opinion. Just the impact that he has on the defensive side of the ball. Eberflus could be the best head coach and get this team in the right positions defensively, especially, but I don't think they're just anywhere near above average at best. And if your defense isn't above average at best, you're asking a lot from a first-year offense, basically a first-year offense, new system, new everything, a second-year quarterback who didn't even get the full season last year to be quarterback. Didn't even have a real coach. So, like, you're asking a ton out of an offense who's going to have mistakes. And you're just going to run the ball. Like, the plan, it feels like, is to run the ball and play good defense this year. And if that's the plan, your defense needs to be above average. It cannot be just an average unit. Without Roquan Smith, to me, it's an average unit. You take him out, that's a huge chunk of your defense. And like Nick Morrow, whoever, like these guys are not replacing Roquan Smith and what he can bring, no matter the position that he plays as a linebacker. So I just don't see it. And there's another thing too, beat on that I think we should touch on, and it's the fact that Quentin, our podcast co-host here, he mentioned this, and there's a lot of like talk about this. Who Stein? I'm trying to see what the heck his first name is now. I just lost it. It was in front of me. Cliff Stein has been with the team since 2002. He's actually hired by McCaskey and Ted Phillips. He's been with the team. He's been in these contract negotiations. He's basically taken the rollover.
Oh, did you say 2002?
2002, yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. That's the problem.
He's been with the team since 2002. But okay, so when Ryan Pace took over in 2015, he replaced him with Joey Lane as like basically the contract negotiator and all that, like chief negotiator and the salary cap guy. He replaced him with Joey Lane. And then now, since Ryan Poles came in, now you got Cliff Stein back at the helm, taking over as his official title is senior vice president and general counsel. But like he's basically the salary cap guy, and he's like the chief negotiator in these contract, disputes and situations or whatever. And I'm just gonna say it. I mean, I agree with Quentin in this point here too. Like I think at any time that you have somebody who's been look at where they've run this organization, just McCaskey himself and Ted Phillips. Phillips might have made them a ton of money over the years, but like anytime you have a guy that's been around since when they were doing things, now he's basically like in a position of power as far as football operations go. I know it's money, but like you're talking about money and you're talking about the product on the field. He has an impact on the product on the field. It's not just like bean counting, right? Like it's actually having an effect on what's going on and what's going to take place if this guy's going to be on the field or not. So it's not entirely on Ryan Poles either, because like if it's them that made him put that guy back in position, if him being a first-year GM and whatever, he doesn't have the experience in this department, right? Like he doesn't have the experience in like contract negotiations and all that. But like at the same time, you're going to trust the McCaskies and Ted Phillips to put the right guy in position? Like, I don't think
Cliff fucking Stein. No, thank you, sir. No, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This is a lot of like stank written all over this.
And I think too, it may not be direct nepotism, but I think the Bears are a huge victim to like this guy has had this job for 20 years. It's almost like those people you see it when you go to Wrigley, right? They've been the fucking beer vendor for 20 years. They'll be the beer vendor until they get put in the dirt. You know what I'm saying? Like this guy needs to go and fucking retire because he's not good at his job. He has shown over time. Well, now that we know he's really like the guy that's putting out the numbers on these contracts, he needs to receive more blame publicly than guys like Ted Phillips or George McCaskey does too, because he probably has like those Secret Service headsets on, and he's just got George McCaskey in one ear just saying, look, that's too much. That's too much money.
It's bullshit.
Mom and pop won't spend that. So, and it's absurd. The cap space is there. The need is there for Roquan Smith on the defense. Figure it the fuck out by the time we come back to this show next Monday, because I want to strictly talk about our matchup with the Chiefs and our look ahead to the matchup against the shitbox Seahawks, against Drew fucking Big Lock Cock, baby. So
Drew Big Lock Cock. Yeah. He's not going to be against us though.
Yeah, no. That was I forgot this is true degenerate hours, but during COVID there was like Madden streams, right? And Drew Lock was obviously on the Broncos, and they would always put like graphics when big plays were made in the streams, and that was the Drew Lock graphic. So I apologize if we lost anyone because I have a potty mouth, but either way, the preseason is what our main focus should be. It should not be about player, contracts, player extensions. That stuff needs to get figured out. And everything that we need to be talking about should be strictly football related from here on out. I hope it is. I hope we don't have to come back to another addendum to our show, because I swear to God, every time something big like this happens, we are less than 10 hours away from pressing the red button to end the recording. So I appreciate you for hopping back on here, Joey. I feel a little bit better, not a lot of bit better. I'm probably going to sleep in my Roquan Smith jersey tonight like a big baby, like the big child that I am. But fuck, and I was trying to get my dog on the stream, but I put his Bears jersey on, and that was last night. So I'm starting to think me putting the Bears jersey on my dog is bad luck. So we'll see. I'm
got bad news.
I'm gonna let him keep it on for another day or two and hope that he'll be able to wear it this season. If not, we're gonna have to get him. Maybe we'll get him the Color Rush jersey for this season. So
do you have Notre Dame?
No, he's got the whole lineup, dude. He's ready to roll. You got a little Chris Bryant jersey, all that. So, I can't talk about it because Chris Bryant's no longer in Chicago as well.
Yeah, you're just jinxing everybody. That sounds like
fucking extend Roquan Smith yesterday. Get it done, Ryan Poles. We are tired of talking about it. Joey, do you have any final wrap-up thoughts before we close out the show for the third and final time? And that doesn't count the 2 times we closed it out yesterday.
Yeah, no more final thoughts other than let's get it done, man. Like you said, maybe you need to take the jerseys off the dog, whatever you need to do. Maybe you need to wake up earlier and have your toaster strudel in your hand before you actually look at your phone and check out the news, because maybe that's part of it, the jinx here. But yeah, man, I just want to see Roquan on this team. I think it will happen. Maybe I'm looking at this a little bit more positively, but I'm not going to give Ryan Poles a ton of credit either. I think this has just been a mess of an offseason, and I hope Roquan gets himself an agent. Stop doing it with yourself. That's my only message here, because I feel like you get an agent in there and a lot of things will smooth over here, because you don't have to get emotional or be pissed off about a contract offer that you didn't feel was fair. And they can kind of be someone to a liaison to lean on and be a middleman. So I think he should get himself an agent, and let's get this thing figured out, hopefully.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because if there's one thing we know about Roquan Smith is Roquan Smith's an emotional guy, wears his heart on his sleeve. So I can only imagine how offended or how felt, done wrong by this whole situation. So at the end of the day, it's probably, you're not going to lose that much money. You lose 3% on your contract and 5% maybe on your endorsements. And Roquan Smith could do many, many endorsements. So the possibilities are endless. And then, too, at that point, you take all the stress of having to deal with all the business side of the game, and you could just go out there and play football and let your manager or your agent figure out all the other stuff that needs to be figured out for you guys. But unfortunately for us, we can't figure out the contract situation for the Bears. We'll be back with you guys next Monday to discuss hopefully a preseason victory in the Matt Nagy Swan Song game and a brand new contract for Tevin Jenkins and Roquan Smith. We will probably not get any of those 3, but let's just hope that we can at least put one on the board. For fuck's sake, let's start this season on the right foot, and let's get some momentum built for that first 4 games of the season, because a lot of those games, honestly, our whole schedule has a lot of winnable games. And I think regardless of what our team looks like, Justin Fields is going to keep us in more games than not. And Roquan Smith, I don't know if they have wins above replacement in the NFL, but I'm sure he's worth at least 2 games per season. So
absolutely.
With that being said, we are Bears on Tap. Follow us on Twitter at Bears on Tap. Follow my guy Joey at Joey Knows Nothing, and you can follow me at BDon300. We'll be back with you guys next Monday to discuss the Chiefs game, as well as all the other breaking news that has gone on in the past week. And then we'll also be getting you guys ready for week 2 of the preseason against the Seattle Seahawks. We really do appreciate you for taking time here on this Tuesday night, and bear down.
Bear down.